What is up, folks? Today we are talking about the Tamagotchi Chibi, also known as the Mini, and we're going to compare it to a more modern alternative, the Nano. Both devices are simplified from the main series units and are meant to be more like portable fashion accessories, though the Mini's a little more that direction. And that's not to say there's no gameplay, though, as they pack a lot of content into a comparably smaller package. For comparison purposes, I will primarily reference the Pac-Man Nano as it's my favorite one by far, but I'll include some others as well. I actually ordered the Mini on accident, thinking it was a P1 in the color scheme of my first ever Tama back in the day, but I was not sad to find differently, as I had wanted one for a while. A couple things before we start. For one, if you like my content, a sub means everything to a small-time creator like me. Any other engagement with the video is a plus. Your comments give me life. I die without them. Secondarily, this video is sponsored by my good friends over at Wheelings, the virtual pet board game. In this case, my good friends are me. I'm the good friends because I worked really hard on this project and hope it brings enjoyment to some folks. Roll the tape. Wheelings is a free-to-play virtual pet-themed board game. Start with a babeling and mature through child, teen, and adult stages as you balance care with training. Each form has its own personality and special abilities. Every time you mature into a new form, prepare to enter the triathlon. The winner of the quiz, sports, and talent show contest will receive a shiny trophy worth valuable points to determine the overall winner. You can also earn points from having a healthier wheeling. Do you want to pursue getting more trophies or getting the highest scoring form to try and win the game? The choice is yours. Check the link in the description or visit facebook.com/wheelingsgame to get everything you need to play the game for free. In-person events with casual and competitive play, awesome prizes for winners, and for the coolest customized boards are coming to West Coast conventions soon. Now back to the regular content. For some background, the Mini was first released in 2005 and later reissued in the late 2010s. While the original Nano was released in 2010, we've gotten licensed releases for it ever since. This means both are able to be found with some ease. In some ways the devices are very similar, but let's highlight some of the differences. When comparing the size, the Mini is just a hair wider, but you'll notice that the Nano is a little bit thicker. The Mini has a smaller screen and slightly larger buttons, which I find very nice. I think the Mini wins here as it's a little more convenient and has a bit better feel when pressing the buttons because of it. The Nanos can sometimes roll around, which makes it hard to be accurate when playing one-handed. In terms of graphics, the Mini has fewer pixels to work with, has a similar number of frames of animation to a P1, but lower resolution overall because of the smaller screen size. I really like what they do with these restrictions, as some of the animations are more exaggerated and, in my opinion, a bit more expressive. On the other hand, the Nano has way more pixels to work with and more frames of animation. The quality of the animations varies wildly between the different units, though. Some will feature a larger, more detailed character sprite that only moves back and forth, while others have smaller sprites that are very mobile in a few different patterns. Pressing the C button will also do a detailed close-up of the character, which I always find super cute. The Nano wins in terms of complexity of animation, but I find the Mini incredibly charming for what it has to work with. The Nano wins in this category, but I find the Mini perfectly acceptable for what it is. Some Nanos take advantage of the sound chip more than others. The Mini is just beeps, but they aren't the screeching pitch some of the vintage devices have. In particular, the P2 reissues are very loud, and I'm not sure what's up with that pitch, but it sounds just a little off. The Nanos easily win in terms of sound variety, but again, some of the models take much more advantage of the advanced sound chips than others. Some are very underwhelming, while others like the Pac-Man make you wonder how they squeezed all of the melodies in. The Nano wins this category. Here's a sample of the Pac-Man Nano. And here's one from the Mini. The growth chart for both units are very quick. Baby or child will hatch from the egg, then it'll jump straight to adult after. On some of the Nanos, you might have the same character the whole time, but with outfit changes or whatnot, which can feel a little bit stale. Both will usually have secret characters, though they're often less demanding than the main units to get. I'm going to give the Mini the win for having a slightly more complicated branch with an extra secret character, but some players will prefer the more detailed Nano designs. In terms of mechanics, you'll notice some big differences between the mainline units. For one, neither of these devices have meters. On the Nanos, you can press the C button to get a close-up of the character, and they'll show different animations based on if certain meters are empty. For the Mini, you just try to feed them and see if they accept it. Poop, or an equivalent mechanic, is always present. Something majorly worth noting is that the Mini does not have any games. Some players dislike the games, so it's really up to you as to whether this is a bad thing. The quality of the games on the Nano varies wildly by each unit. Some only have a couple games, while others like the R2-D2 will have many different games you can unlock based on the character's form. I'm going to stay on the Pac-Man Nano again and say that the up and down maze game is fantastic with one caveat. To the exact extent, it has varied, but the buttons on the Nanos are not terribly responsive. Some have been better than others, but all of them I find I periodically have to press the button several times for it to register. When playing a reflex-based game, this can be extremely frustrating. Also, not all of the games are of great quality. A good example is on the R2-D2. There are several games that involve pressing the A button 15 times within a fairly long period. You press the button, and then you wait, and you have to wait for the thing to finish, and that's kinda it. I would rather just feed a snack at that point personally. This category is hard to judge, so I'm just going to give personal preference to the Mini. I am a bit of a controller snob when it comes to retro games and the like, and I've customized several different controllers, so I appreciate a well-designed responsive interface, and having better games with bad controls feels less good to me than no games at all, even if some of the games are really fun. Overall, this may be controversial, but I like the Mini a little bit more than the Nanos. I'm a vintage fan and started with the P1, so I do have a bias that direction. Those that prefer the more modern units will likely prefer the Nano. I hope this has brought some clarity, as I could not find any great summaries of the differences between these different kinds of units online. Overall though, enjoy what you enjoy, and I'm not saying don't get any Nanos, but maybe look up some reviews on each specific model to see if they're going to be more your flavor or not. Until next time. For some background, the Mini was first released in 2005 and later reissued in the late 2010s. And that is my alarm for my ocean. Let's see if we get a polar bear attack.